Imagine sitting in a theater years from now, the lights dim, the screen comes alive, and for the first time, the title card reads, Avengers Doomsday. Now think about this. The name alone shakes something in you. Not just because it's a new Avengers movie, but because this is the moment Marvel has been quietly building toward since the multiverse cracked open in Loki. Since the whispers of incursions echoed in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, since Deadpool literally tore holes into other timelines with Wolverine by his side. This isn't just another crossover. This is the event. And what's leaking right now about this movie is so wild, so massive, so emotionally charged, that it could completely reshape how we see the Marvel Cinematic Universe and its legacy. And the craziest part? It doesn't start with Kang anymore. It starts with Doom. Yes, Dr. Doom. But not the Doom you think you know. Not the scarred monarch hiding behind an iron mask, sneering at heroes from the shadows. No, in this story, in this leak, Doom is someone who truly believes he is saving the multiverse. Someone who doesn't consider himself a villain at all. And what makes that terrifying is that he may be right, at least in his own mind. The leaks point to something audacious. Robert Downey Jr., the man who began the MCU as Iron Man, returning not as Tony Stark, but as Victor Von Doom. Imagine that whiplash. Imagine Peter Parker seeing a face he thought he'd lost. The face of his mentor, of the man who sacrificed everything to save half the universe, only to realize this version of Stark isn't his Stark. He's Doom. That's the gut punch Marvel is aiming for. And that's the kind of emotional storytelling that defines a generational moment. But let's rewind. How did we even get here? Why is Doom the center of Avengers Doomsday? And why has Franklin Richards, the child of Reed and Sue, suddenly become the most important piece on Marvel's cosmic chessboard? To answer that, we have to unravel the threads Marvel has been weaving ever since Fantastic Four's post-credit scene. The one where Franklin Richards is revealed, not just as a child, but as a being holding within him the power cosmic itself. A child who can heal Doom's scars. A child who can cause or prevent incursions. A child who may be the only one capable of reshaping the multiverse. Or ending it. The leaks suggest Doom kidnaps Franklin Richards, not because he wants to use him for some sinister scheme, but because he fears what others might do with him. This is where it gets interesting. Doom is portrayed not as a conqueror, but as a protector of reality itself. He's seen what the Council of Kangs has done, how their meddling fractured timelines, how incursions sparked wars. He knows the Avengers, the X-Men, even the cosmic beings can be reckless. And so, in his mind, the only logical choice is to take Franklin under his control, not to harm him, but to ensure no one else can weaponize him. Now stop and let that sink in. Doom as the anti-hero of the multiverse saga. A man who truly believes that by stealing a child, by threatening heroes, by waging war on entire teams, he's preventing something far worse. And if that feels eerily familiar, it's because Marvel has always thrived on villains who don't see themselves as villains. Killmonger wasn't wrong about oppression. Thanos wasn't wrong about resource scarcity. And now, Doom. Doom may not be wrong about the collapse of the multiverse. That's what makes this story pulse with urgency. And it's not just about Doom. This leak ties together nearly every dangling thread of Marvel's recent projects. Think about it. Spider-Man caused an incursion with Doctor Strange. Monica Rambeau got trapped beyond reality. The Marvels ended on a multiversal note. Loki literally sat on the throne of timelines. Every loose piece comes crashing into Doomsday. And if you're wondering about Kang, well, here's where the Russo brothers reportedly pivot. Jonathan Majors' legal controversies forced Marvel to rethink the entire Kang Dynasty arc. But instead of collapsing, they swerved. They pulled Kang off the board and placed Doom squarely in the center. According to the leaks, Kang may not even appear in person in Doomsday. Instead, Doom might open the film by casually confirming he wiped out the Council of Kangs. Imagine that opening. The big bad, who was hyped for years, gone in the first act, like Thanos wrecking the Asgardians in Infinity War. That's the statement Marvel wants to make. This isn't Kang's story anymore. It's Doom's. But let's take it further. Why Franklin Richards? Why Doom? Why now? If you think about it, Marvel's been desperate to reset the table. Secret Wars is on the horizon, and if you know that comic storyline, you know it isn't really about Kang. It's about incursions, universes colliding, heroes being forced into impossible choices. And the one character who sat at the heart of that comic? Doom, the God Emperor of Battleworld. The one man who thought he could shape reality itself. So, if you wanted to reframe the MCU's current chaos, if you wanted to redirect all roads toward a single climax, Doom is the perfect pivot. And Franklin? Well, Franklin's power cosmic is essentially the MCU's golden ticket. His ability to warp reality, to create universes, to resurrect the dead, is Marvel's answer to every problem. Need to bring back characters? Franklin can do it. Need to merge universes? Franklin can do it. Need to explain why Deadpool and Wolverine suddenly show up in the MCU proper? Franklin can do it. That's why Doom wants him. That's why the Avengers will fight for him. And that's why Franklin himself may become the most tragic character in all of this. A child burdened with the power to rewrite existence, pulled between Doom, his parents, and every hero desperate to control his fate. Now, here's where things get even more human, even more gut-wrenching. Imagine Peter Parker. He lost Tony Stark. He mourned him. He built his identity around that grief, around carrying on his mentor's legacy. Now he sees Tony's face again. But it isn't Tony. It's Doom. A man who wears that face without the soul behind it. And worse, this Doom might be willing to destroy Peter's entire universe if it means saving the multiverse at large. That emotional collision, Peter's hope, Peter's heartbreak, Peter's rage, is going to be one of the film's defining moments. The leak suggests Doom and Spider-Man will go head-to-head, not just in combat, but in ideology. Doom will challenge Peter to see the bigger picture. Peter will fight for the little guy, the single life, the human cost. It's Tony versus Peter all over again, but twisted into something darker, crueler, more painful. And then there's Doctor Strange. If you've read Time Runs Out, you know Strange and Doom are destined for conflict. Strange, who's dabbled in incursions and nearly lost himself in the dark dimension. Strange, who believes in balance, in the sanctity of life, in using magic with restraint. And Doom, who believes restraint is weakness when universes are at stake. Their clash isn't just about spells and shields, it's about philosophy. About whether one man has the right to decide the fate of infinite realities. And the leak suggests Strange's role in Doomsday might replace what would have been Doctor Strange 3. Marvel, in their rush to get to Secret Wars, apparently cut Strange's solo continuation and folded it directly into this movie. Meaning we might never see Clea's incursion subplot pay off in its own film. Instead, it bleeds right into Doom's story. Strange versus Doom. Mentor versus usurper of magic. That's storytelling dynamite. But leaks don't just stop at Doom and Strange. they ripple outward. Thor is rumored to face his final death in this film, a death so shocking it will echo like Tony's snap did in Endgame. Not permanent, of course. Nothing is in comic storytelling, but brutal enough to mark this as Marvel's WTF death. And who delivers that death? The leak teases Doom himself. Imagine Thor, god of thunder, facing down a man who thinks he's saving the multiverse. Imagine Doom ripping him down not with sheer power, but with calculated clinical strategy. That's the weight Doomsday is going for. Now, what about the TVA? What about Loki? The leaks suggest Loki, now godlike after Loki Season 2, will form his own team, separate from the Avengers. Why? Because he knows Doom's methods, and he knows the TVA can't sit idle. But here's the kicker. Why isn't Loki still sitting in the chair, holding the timelines? Apparently, Doomsday will find a way to yank him out of that seat, force him back into the fray, and strip away his godlike vantage point. That makes him vulnerable again. That makes him desperate. And that makes him compelling. Loki's team, the TVA, Deadpool and Wolverine, Spider-Man, Strange, Thor, all converging on Doom. That's not just a superhero battle. That's a multiversal civil war. But behind the scenes, the leaks say chaos reigned as well. Drama between Robert Downey Jr. and a mystery new actor reportedly erupted during production. And while details are scarce, speculation points toward one of the incoming X-Men, actors unaccustomed to Downey's process, clashing with the man who's essentially Marvel royalty. Tension, reshoots, tempers. But as history shows us, sometimes those tensions make the movie better. Think of how troubled Infinity War's production was, and yet how it delivered one of the greatest blockbusters ever. Marvel thrives on chaos, both in-universe and out. Here's where we stand. Doom has arrived, wearing the face of Tony Stark, but none of his heart. He's taken Franklin Richards, not as a weapon, but as a safeguard against the reckless hands of others. He's already slaughtered the Council of Kangs, wiped the board clean, and declared himself the protector of the multiverse, by any means necessary. Spider-Man is caught between grief and fury. Doctor Strange sees a storm of incursions gathering. Thor's destiny looms heavy. Loki's team stirs in the shadows. And Franklin Richards, the child with stars in his eyes, may soon have to decide whether he's the salvation of the multiverse or its destruction. And that, right there, is why Avengers Doomsday is shaping up to be more than just another Marvel movie. It's the end game of Endgame. The question isn't whether the Avengers can beat Doom. The question is whether Doom is right. The weight of Doom's arrival doesn't settle quietly. It ripples across every corner of the Marvel Universe, and the leaks suggest that the sheer scale of this conflict forces heroes and villains alike to pick sides in ways that blur the lines of morality. Arc 1 gave us Doom's mission, his seizure of Franklin Richards, and the chilling realization that he may have already dismantled the Kang threat. But Arc 2 is where the alliances fracture. The drama behind the leaks intensifies, and the emotional stakes of Doomsday begin to suffocate every character involved. Let's start with Franklin Richards himself, because in many ways, he is the beating heart of this story. Think about this. A child, no older than the age Peter Parker was when Tony Stark found him, suddenly thrust into the role of the most dangerous being in the multiverse. Franklin isn't a soldier. He isn't an Avenger. He isn't even ready to understand the scale of what he carries inside him. Yet the power cosmic pulses through his veins, making him both the most valuable prize and the most terrifying threat. Doom's philosophy is chillingly simple. If Franklin isn't controlled, he will eventually be used. And if he is used, entire universes could unravel. The Avengers, meanwhile, don't see a weapon. They see a child who deserves freedom. That clash of perspective becomes the fulcrum of the entire conflict. But Franklin's story isn't just about being fought over. The leaks suggest that his powers begin to manifest in uncontrollable bursts. Visions, glimpses of universes dying, flashes of alternate futures. At one point, he allegedly sees Spider-Man lying dead, Thor's hammer shattered, Strange bound in chains of light. These aren't just random images. They are teases of the catastrophic possibilities Doomsday holds. And for Franklin, it's terrifying. Imagine being 10 years old and seeing yourself destroy realities just by existing. That weight would break even the strongest of minds, and it begins to fray Franklin's innocence. The real question becomes, will Franklin choose to trust Doom, who promises to shield him from others, or the Avengers, who promise him freedom but expose him to danger? That choice will define Doomsday's second act. And then there's Spider-Man. Arc 1 established his emotional tether to Doom's face, Tony Stark's face. But Arc 2 pushes Peter into uncharted territory. He doesn't just see Doom as an enemy. He sees him as the cruelest ghost imaginable. Every interaction with Doom is a knife twist, because Doom doesn't see Peter as anything more than another reckless hero who almost doomed the multiverse with Strange during No Way Home. Doom openly mocks Peter's mistakes, reminding him that his spell caused an incursion, that his naivety put universes at risk. For Peter, this isn't just about saving Franklin. It's about proving that heroes can learn from their mistakes, that one person's compassion matters, even when the multiverse trembles. And that's why Peter is rumored to be the emotional anchor of Doomsday. Not because he's the most powerful, but because he refuses to let go of the human cost, no matter how small. Doctor Strange, meanwhile, becomes Doom's intellectual counterweight. The leaks point to a philosophical showdown between Strange and Doom that stretches across the film, echoing the themes of time runs out. Strange believes in containment, in careful correction of multiversal wounds. Doom believes in eradication. Wipe away the threats before they spiral. Their arguments reportedly carry as much weight as their magical battles. And one leak even suggests Strange accuses Doom of playing God with a child's soul. Doom counters by accusing Strange of cowardice, of refusing to make the hard calls when universes crumble. It's not just a fight of spells, it's a courtroom drama played out across collapsing realities with Franklin as the silent witness. And then the leaks bring in Thor. The supposed big death of Doomsday looms large, and Thor's arc here is tragic. Ever since Love and Thunder, Thor has been painted as a god searching for purpose, a father, a wanderer. In Doomsday, he finds himself standing against Doom, the man who claims to be the savior of all. Doom reportedly sees gods as obsolete, relics of a myth that holds no meaning when faced with multiversal annihilation. You were worshipped for centuries, yet what did you do to stop the end of worlds? Doom is rumored to ask Thor, and in that one line, Thor's existential crisis crystallizes. For him, this battle isn't just about Franklin. It's about proving that gods still matter, that compassion and courage still mean something in a collapsing cosmos. The tragedy? Doom wins. The leak suggests Thor falls at Doom's hand, a shocking, brutal moment meant to echo Tony's snap in Endgame. But here's the difference. Thor doesn't fall in triumph. He falls as proof of Doom's resolve. It's not a heroic send-off. It's a warning. Doom cannot be stopped through brute strength. Meanwhile, Loki's role begins to sharpen. Having ascended to godhood at the end of his series, Loki now walks into Doomsday with a team of his own. The leaks hint that his motivations are murky. Is he truly working to stop Doom? Or is he manipulating events to position himself as a new god of multiversal order? After all, Loki once craved a throne. Now he's literally held the throne of time. Can someone like that ever truly let go? His presence reportedly unsettles both the Avengers and Doom, because no one trusts Loki fully. Yet he holds knowledge of the TVA, of timelines, of the weavings Doom is trying to cut. One moment in particular from the leaks stands out: Loki confronting Franklin, whispering to him about destiny, about gods who lie, about the burden of power. It's the kind of manipulation only Loki can deliver, and whether it's truth or deceit is left deliberately unclear. Now, let's circle back to the X-Men. Remember, the leaks teased drama between Robert Downey Jr. and a new major actor. This arc is where the X-Men supposedly make their first big splash in the storyline. Wolverine, of course, is confirmed, but leaks also point toward Professor Xavier being woven into the film, perhaps as Franklin's advocate. Think about that. Xavier, the man who dedicates his life to protecting gifted children, standing face to face with Doom over Franklin's fate. It's perfect symmetry. Xavier sees Franklin not as a weapon, not as a cosmic anchor, but as a child who deserves choice. Doom sees Xavier's philosophy as naive, dangerous, even hypocritical. Their ideological clash reportedly rivals Strange versus Doom, with Franklin once again caught in the middle of adults fighting over him like a pawn. The X-Men's inclusion in Doomsday isn't just fan service, it's narrative necessity, because who else, other than the X-Men, understands what it means to be born with powers you never asked for? Meanwhile, behind the scenes, tensions reportedly rise. Downey Jr., stepping into the Doom role, allegedly pushed for reshoots, rewriting entire arcs to give Doom more weight, more gravitas. Some insiders whispered that this put him at odds with actors trying to establish themselves in the MCU, particularly the incoming X-Men stars. That kind of creative clash might sound messy, but, in a strange way, it mirrors the very story Marvel is telling. Veterans clashing with newcomers, philosophies colliding, egos battling for dominance. Sometimes life imitates art more than we realize. The leaks also point to Deadpool and Wolverine finally stepping into the chaos of Doomsday. And in true Deadpool fashion, his arrival isn't subtle. Reportedly, he bursts into the plot, mocking the very concept of incursions, breaking the fourth wall by joking that Marvel's writing team caused more multiversal damage than Strange ever did. It's absurd, but it's also genius. Because in that moment, Deadpool embodies the audience, calling out the chaos while still being part of it. Wolverine, on the other hand, is all business, a reluctant warrior dragged into yet another fight, trying to keep Deadpool in line while quietly sensing the magnitude of Doom's power. Their presence adds levity, but it also adds raw grit. Because when Wolverine unsheathes his claws against Doom, you know it's going to hit harder than just another hero throwing a punch. But let's not forget the elephant in the room: Kang. The leaks suggest that Doom opens the film by having already slaughtered the Council of Kangs, but whispers indicate that Kang may still be verbally referenced throughout. In fact, one theory is that Doom will use Kang's downfall as his justification. He'll tell the Avengers, "Your timelines were already poisoned. The Kangs proved that. I merely cleaned the wound before it spread." It's chilling because it reframes Doom not as the man who derailed the Kang dynasty, but as the surgeon who saved the patient by amputating the infected limb. Marvel, by doing this, cleverly sidesteps the Kang recasting controversy while still acknowledging the stakes Kang once posed. Doom becomes the cure and the disease. And this is where the second arc crescendos. The Avengers begin to realize that Doom is not just another villain they can punch into submission. He's a strategist. He's already ahead of them. He has Franklin. He's dismantled Kang. He's turned Magneto's sympathies, rattled Strange's convictions, broken Thor's body, and haunted Peter Parker with the face of Tony Stark. Every move they make, Doom seems to have already predicted. And in that suffocating grip, the Avengers find themselves cornered. The leaks suggest the second arc ends with a devastating reveal. Doom doesn't just want to stop incursions. He wants to choose which universe survives. Incursions mean only one can remain, and Doom believes he is the only man capable of making that decision. That revelation shatters everything. Suddenly, Franklin isn't just a safeguard. He's the instrument through which Doom will crown himself arbiter of existence. The Avengers realize they're not just fighting for a child's freedom. They're fighting for their universe's right to exist at all. And with that, Arc 2 leaves us gasping. The Avengers are fractured. Doom is ascendant. Franklin is torn, and the question echoes louder than ever. If universes must die so one can live, who gets to decide? Doom believes it's him. The Avengers believe no one should. And somewhere in between, a child with the power cosmic stares into the stars, wondering if he is salvation or damnation. By the time the story enters its third act, the air is different. Heavy, inescapable. Doom has laid his cards on the table. Not only does he intend to stop incursions, he intends to decide which universe will survive when the collapse is complete. And with Franklin Richards bound to his side, with Thor fallen, with Strange doubting, and with Peter Parker broken by the face of his lost mentor, the Avengers find themselves standing against not just a villain, but a philosophy. Doom doesn't just want to win. He wants to redefine existence. The leaks describe this stretch of the film as the most chaotic, the most desperate, the most overwhelming moment Marvel has ever attempted. Imagine Infinity War's despair mixed with Endgame's scale, multiplied by the insanity of Multiverse of Madness. That's the texture of Arc 3. Every character, every faction, every ideology collides. And the multiverse itself becomes the battlefield. The TVA reportedly plays its biggest role here. For 2 arcs, they've lingered in the background, watching incursions, tracking Doom, uncertain whether to intervene. But now, they realize their entire purpose is at stake. If Doom seizes the right to choose which universe lives, the TVA itself becomes irrelevant. So, they strike. The leaks suggest a massive sequence where the TVA unleashes its full arsenal, not pruning sticks and reset charges, but cosmic-level technology designed to neutralize beings like Franklin. Yet, in a cruel twist, their attack backfires. Franklin's unstable power reacts violently, collapsing entire timelines in an instant. And Doom, instead of reeling, uses the chaos as proof. This is why I must decide. This is why no one else can be trusted. In one move, the TVA goes from regulator to cautionary tale, leaving Loki to pick up their shattered pieces. And Loki becomes fascinating here. For 2 arcs, we've seen his motives dance in shadows. But in this act, Loki finally chooses. He doesn't stand with Doom, nor fully with the Avengers. Instead, he positions himself as the wild card, the god of mischief turned god of necessity. His speech, according to leaks, is one of the most haunting in the film. "I once craved a throne. I once believed power was its own reward. But now I have seen what a throne of timelines looks like. It is not a gift. It is a cage. Doom believes he is free because he holds the knife. But a knife cuts both ways. In that moment, Loki marks himself as the one character who understands the cost of godhood. And in doing so, he becomes Franklin's quiet guide, nudging him toward a choice that could undo Doom's empire. But before Franklin can choose, the Avengers themselves must endure the darkest hour. Thor's death has already fractured them. Strange doubts his ability to counter Doom's intellect. Peter Parker carries the unbearable weight of facing a man with Tony Stark's face. And tensions rise further when Magneto reportedly delivers Franklin back to Doom after a temporary rescue, betraying the X-Men in order to align with Doom's belief in harsh necessity. That betrayal cuts deep, especially for Xavier, who now realizes even his oldest ally has lost faith in mercy. The leaks suggest a turning point comes through Spider-Man. Against all odds, against Doom's overwhelming logic, Peter refuses to break. There's a rumored scene where Doom corners him, taunting him with Tony's face, asking why he persists when universes are at stake. And Peter, bloodied and exhausted, whispers back, "Because the kid deserves a chance. Because someone once gave me one." It's a callback to Tony recruiting him in Civil War, a reminder that compassion creates heroes. That line, reportedly, stuns even Doom. For the first time, he hesitates, because beneath the mask of resolve, Doom is still human, still scarred, still haunted. And Peter, with his relentless hope, forces him to feel the ghost of what Tony Stark once represented. Doctor Strange seizes that hesitation. The leaks describe a desperate gambit. Strange using a forbidden spell to mirror Doom's own face back at him. Not as Tony Stark, but as Victor Von Doom. Scarred, broken, mortal. In that mirror, Doom confronts the truth he's buried. He isn't a savior above humanity. He is still a man, driven by fear, by pride, by a refusal to let go of control. That moment fractures his aura of invincibility. But it doesn't stop him. If anything, it makes him more dangerous, because now Doom is fighting not just the Avengers, but his own reflection. And then comes Franklin's choice. In the heart of the chaos, amid universes burning and teams colliding, Franklin realizes that his power cosmic isn't just a burden, it's agency. Doom wants him to seal the multiverse with a single universe left standing. The Avengers want him free but cannot protect him. Loki tempts him with riddles of destiny. But Franklin, staring at the devastation, chooses something else. According to leaks, he channels his power not to collapse universes, but to merge them. Not into Doom's battle world, but into a fragile tapestry where fragments of realities coexist. It's unstable, imperfect, but it's a third option no one considered. Not destruction, not preservation, transformation. This choice unleashes a climax that makes Endgame look small. Universes bleed into each other. Heroes from realities we've glimpsed. Fox X-Men, Raimi Spider-Man, even the Netflix Defenders appear in flashes, pulled into the chaos. Deadpool makes jokes about Disney finally buying the last rights. Wolverine carves through variants. Strange casts spells across collapsing skylines. Peter swings through broken fragments of New York, colliding with alien worlds. It's chaos, but it's meaningful chaos, born from a child's refusal to choose between impossible binaries. But Doom won't accept it. In the final confrontation, Doom rages against Franklin, against the Avengers, against the very idea that his plan could be undermined. The leaks describe him unleashing power beyond anything we've seen, tearing through reality itself, determined to force his will. Yet in that moment, Thor's sacrifice echoes. Strange's defiance holds. Spider-Man's compassion pierces. And Franklin, guided quietly by Loki's cryptic wisdom, channels his power into one final act. Not to destroy Doom, but to strip him of his stolen face, his stolen armor, his stolen destiny. Doom stands revealed, not as Tony Stark, not as a god, but as Victor Von Doom, broken, human, furious. And here's where Marvel delivers its gut punch. Doom is not killed. He is exiled, cast into the void between universes, left to rage in the silence, a Chekhov's gun for secret wars. Because if you know that storyline, you know Doom will return, more dangerous than ever, ready to seize godhood for real. Doomsday ends not with victory, but with reprieve. The Avengers survive. Franklin chooses hope. The multiverse shudders but doesn't collapse. And Doom waits. The leaks suggest the film closes on bittersweet notes. Spider-Man, haunted but resolute, walks away knowing he faced his mentor's face and didn't break. Strange, scarred from forbidden magic, warns that the incursions aren't over. Loki vanishes, leaving only riddles, his true allegiance still unknown. The X-Men, fractured by Magneto's choices, retreat to rebuild. And Franklin Richards, child of infinite power, stares into the stars, whispering that he can still hear Doom's voice in his mind. Then, the rumored post-credit scene. A whisper of secret wars, a glimpse of universes stitched together into something unstable. A hand, Doom's hand, pressing against the barrier of exile. His voice, low, resonant, chilling. If I cannot choose the universe that survives, then I will become the universe. Cut to black. And that, according to these leaks, is how Avengers Doomsday sets the stage for Marvel's most ambitious saga yet. But beyond the spectacle, beyond the leaks, beyond the cameos, what makes this story resonate is the human touch. At its heart, Doomsday isn't about who wins or loses. It's about choices. Doom chooses control. The Avengers choose compassion. Franklin chooses transformation. And we, the audience, are left to wrestle with the question, in a universe where only one reality can survive, is saving everyone ever truly possible? Or is it always, inevitably, about who gets to choose? That's the question Marvel wants echoing long after the credits roll. So if these leaks are true, if Avengers Doomsday really unfolds this way, we're not just getting another blockbuster. We're getting the most ambitious, the most heartbreaking, the most transformative Marvel story yet. One that dares to ask whether our heroes can still be heroes when the fate of all realities hangs in the balance. And now, as always, I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Doom is truly wrong? Or is he the only one brave enough to do what the Avengers can't? Do you think Franklin Richards will hold the key to saving or dooming the multiverse? And who do you think won't make it out of Doomsday alive? Let me know in the comments. I'll be diving into your theories and weaving them into the next discussion. If you enjoyed this deep dive theory into Avengers Doomsday, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with every Marvel fan you know, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown as more leaks and reveals come in. And if you want to go the extra mile and directly support the channel, consider dropping a $25 super chat. Every bit goes right back into researching, creating, and keeping this community thriving. Because just like the Avengers, I can't do this alone.